Chapter 1171. How could they understand Luo Qingtong's goodness? Everyone thought that he was protecting Luo Qingtong, otherwise who knew what state she would fall to. But they didn't know that the girl's ability was extraordinary. She was willing to give him a chance to protect her so he could get what he wanted. Otherwise, the other party would have run away in minutes without a trace. The world was so big and only such a woman he didn't dare to say he could catch. These people didn't know Luo Qingtong's goodness at all. They didn't know what kind of potential and brilliance the girl had. She was willing to give him a chance to protect her, willing to believe him, so she exposed her secret in front of him. Elder Yuelao thought that he could slaughter her at will, but he didn't know who would be the one to be slaughtered when they really faced each other. Yi Qianxian was too lazy to explain to them. When that woman grew up and walked side by side with him, these people would know how wrong they were. He picked up a rare pearl, and when it was covered in dust, he carefully wiped it, brushed away the dust and sheltered it from the wind and rain. In the end, it bloomed with dazzling brilliance, but it was not because of his hard work and care. It was because of its original brilliance. Luo Qingtong was that bright pearl to him. He waited for the day when her brilliance bloomed and shocked the world. No one, no matter what, could hurt this pearl in his palm. Yi Qianxian was willing to wait for Luo Qingtong to grow up and cure the drawbacks in his body. If there was no one to walk with him in the 3,000 great Daos, even if he could live for a long time, what was the point? But since you don't want to touch that girl, then we can only think of other ways. Before, we found a lot of ways to prolong your life. You were so proud and arrogant that you didn't want to try if you couldn't completely cure the drawbacks in your body. You'd rather end your life at 28 years old. Now you can at least try, right? Otherwise, you might not be able to hold on until that girl grows up. After all, your strength is really too abnormal. Elder Yuelao thought so, muttering in his heart. They didn't know what this brat Yi was thinking. In the past, they had found many ways to extend his life beyond the age of 28. But this kid couldn't find a way to heal his meridians, so he wasn't willing to try. Now he was finally willing, right? Of course. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. He had said that he would wait for Luo Qingtong to cure him, so he would definitely wait. In the past, he felt that there was no meaning in living like this. Instead of dragging a body that could die at any time, it was better to let nature take its course. But now that he had Luo Qingtong, even if it was to protect her in the future, he would never allow himself to die like this. He was willing to work hard to live for her. Yi Qianxian looked deeply at the girl in his arms and said in a low voice, "I may be away for a long time. At that time, try not to find me through the 10 Directions Dragon Ring and the 9 Nether Phoenix Ring." The place he was going to was too dangerous, and it was difficult for him to take care of her spiritual body. Okay. Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned when she heard that Yi Qianxian was going to leave. Then she nodded and said, "I'll wait for you to come back." Luo Qingtong didn't ask Yi Qianxian what he was going to do in the outer realm. He always had his reasons for leaving. Chapter 1172. Everything else was useless. And what Luo Qingtong hated the most was useless work. If she wanted this man, she had to have the strength to match him. At that time, she would destroy the heavens if anyone dared to stop her from being together with him. Let's see who would dare to stop her. But right now, her strength was far from enough. Luo Qingtong didn't stay long in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. After dealing with all the matters at hand, she prepared to leave. Before leaving, she went to the Soul Institute with Yi Qianxian to test her soul imprint talent. However, the results were out of everyone's expectations. How is this possible? The Grand Supreme Dean looked at the light emitted by the Soul Institute's testing stone in shock. Pure white? This is rank 0? Luo Qingtong's soul imprint talent was actually rank 0? Didn't that mean that her soul imprint was the trashiest type? There was almost no room for improvement. Instantly, everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Especially Su Xiaoxiao and the rest. In their eyes, Luo Qingtong was almost omnipotent. How could her soul imprint talent be so low? This was really out of everyone's expectations. One had to know that even Yuan Hu's trashiest soul imprint was close to rank 10. Luo Qingtong's soul imprint was really too low. It meant that it was almost impossible for her to become a soul master. Even if she became a soul master, there was no room for improvement. This was really out of everyone's expectations. It's fine. The Grand Supreme Dean laughed dryly and said, "It's fine even if she can't become a soul master. Being a martial artist is also pretty good." But everyone knew that a martial artist's strength could never be compared to a soul master's. The further one progressed, the more obvious this difference in strength became. When a soul master attacked, he could rely on his own soul imprint's attribute to display different effects of attack and defense. It had a huge boost to his strength. This was something that martial artists couldn't compare to. In the early stages, a martial artist could still contend with a soul master. However, once a soul master's soul seal was completely awakened and they entered the martial emperor realm, they would be able to communicate with the power of heaven and earth. Luo Qingtong's talent as a soul master was so low that it would inevitably affect her strength and combat strength in the future. Unknowingly, they would fall behind soul masters of the same rank. How could this be? Su Xiaoxiao and the others were anxious. Although they comforted themselves that with the false soul seal, Luo Qingtong's future strength would not be affected too much. However, the drawing of the fake soul seal was also based on the improvement of Luo Qingtong's strength. If Luo Qingtong's strength was not good enough in the future, it would be impossible for the drawing of the fake soul seal to surpass her level. Thinking of this, everyone suddenly felt very sad. Such a powerful boss, how could her soul seal talent be so low? He didn't know if her heart would be able to take it. After all, Boss had always been a top genius, a monstrous genius. Now that her soul seal talent was suddenly so low, he didn't know if her mood would be affected. In reality, Luo Qingtong wasn't affected at all. She looked at the testing stone in the middle of the Soul Institute's testing hall with a bit of astonishment. Was it her misperception? She clearly felt that after she poured her spiritual power into it, the light inside soared. Chapter 1173. What was going on? Luo Qingtong blinked her eyes. Her ocular sorcery ability was definitely not trash. In her previous life, she was the supreme ocular sorcerer of the 24th century. After coming to this strange world, her ocular sorcery ability had never disappointed her. So, was there a problem with the testing stone? It could not test the talent level of her ocular sorcery ability? If that was the case, then it could explain why the light she felt soar in the beginning, but when it finally exploded in front of everyone, it was a pure white level. Luo Qingtong found it funny when she thought of this. She did not think that she would be trash like this. But this was good too. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind and rain. Luo Qingtong liked to see those who were arrogant in front of her, but in the end they were ruthlessly slapped in the face. She did not care much about the results of this test. At this moment Yi Qianxian held her hands. It's okay, my talent level is also 0. As he spoke, he suddenly took a step forward, raised his hand and pressed on the testing stone. After a short moment of silence, the testing stone suddenly emitted a white light with a boom. It was just as Yi Qianxian said, his talent level was also 0. The Grand Supreme Dean and the others were almost stunned when they saw this. Holy shit. *CK, this is definitely a fantasy. How powerful was Ming Zun? His soul seal talent was actually 0? Everyone was dumbfounded. Only Beiqing and Feng Yu remained calm from the start to the end. Master had the heavenly pulse body. No matter what kind of talent he had, he was an existence that was off the charts. Okay. This testing stone could only test a normal talent. How could it estimate the level of a talent like Master's? It must be the same for the demonic physician. That was why it showed a pure white level of 0 talent. After all, they had all followed Yi Qianxian for a long time, and they all knew how powerful the other party was. Looking at the white light that Yi Qianxian had produced, the Grand Supreme Dean suddenly took a step forward and tested his soul seal talent. After confirming that the testing stone was normal, he looked at Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian in disbelief. Mother****. These two people were simply two weirdos. He had prepared a long string of comforting words for Luo Qingtong, but they were all useless now. Even someone as powerful as Underworld Venerable had 0 soul imprint talent. Who could guarantee that Luo Qingtong wasn't as abnormal as Ming Zun? The group of people instantly felt gratified. Even Su Xiaoxiao and the others were the same. Looking at their expressions, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the man beside her. Was this man trying to comfort her? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved as she held Yi Qianxian's hand tightly. The man's large palm was so thick that it almost covered her entire hand. Just like every time he stood in front of her, Luo Qingtong felt an indescribable warmth in her heart. What to do? She was more and more reluctant to part with this man. She was also more and more reluctant to let go of this man. Yi Qianxian, you forced your way into my heart step by step. Do you know what the result will be? You will be entangled with me until death and you will never be able to withdraw. Luo Qingtong's temperament was evil and unrestrained. Once she decided to open her heart to someone, that person would never have any room to retreat. If he loved her, he would live. If he didn't, he would die. There was nothing in her world except black and white. Chapter 1174. Yi Qianxian left right after Luo Qingtong finished testing her soul imprint. Bei Qing and Feng Yu also left with him. Luo Qingtong stood there watching their departing figures. When she turned around, her eyes were incomparably sharp. Let's go. She must improve her strength as soon as possible, so that she can better stand by that man's side. Luo Qingtong's figure swept towards the direction of the far west wilderness. She had just walked forward for a short distance, and before she could release her spirit ship, a figure appeared in front of her in an instant, causing her to raise her eyebrows slightly. Ah, elder sister, this really has nothing to do with me. In front, Yu Xingqi's small face was bitter as he came out from behind a tree. Beside her, there was a very evildoer Yu Si Huang in purple clothes. The mole at the corner of the man's eye looked like it was dripping blood. Paired with that feminine and handsome face, it was very enchanting and strange. But his temperament didn't make people think that he was a woman. At this moment he was standing beside Yu Xingqi. He chuckled and nodded towards Luo Qingtong saying, Yu Si Huang. Miss Qingtong, or should I say evil Dr. Ghost Eye, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time no see. Yu Si Huang's words were very contradictory. But Luo Qingtong understood his meaning at once. Looking forward to meeting you for a long time was because of evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation. Not seeing him for a long time was because she saved him last time. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. At the side, Yu Xingqi's small face was wrinkled. Elder sister, this matter really has nothing to do with me. I swear I didn't inform him, he came to find us himself. He even used Dudu to threaten me, bad brother? Yu Xingqi pouted his mouth at the side, looking very unhappy. She originally didn't want to bring Yu Si Huang to find Luo Qingtong. Originally, when Luo Qingtong left, she was going to secretly get rid of him and leave with Luo Qingtong, heading towards the far west wilderness. Who would have thought that he would see the clues from his actions and threaten her with Dudu? Following Yu Xingqi's words, Luo Qingtong's gaze fell on Yu Si Huang's bosom. There was indeed a small white ball in the latter's purple robes that was rising and falling. What did you say? Don't slander me for no reason. Yu Si Huang unhappily looked at his unreliable younger sister. That fat cat of yours followed me of its own accord. As he spoke, he shook out the fur ball in his arms. The chubby white cat was holding 2 small dried fish in its mouth. When it saw Yu Xingqi at the side, it fiercely used its small claws to pull and put away the 2 small dried fish. He had an appearance of being afraid that Yu Xingqi would confiscate it. Beep, beep. Yu Xingqi's voice almost broke through the horizon. This greedy cat. 2 dried fish were enough to buy it over. Was it worthy of him? Luo Qingtong looked at this pair of brother and sister who were getting along with each other very strangely. The corner of her mouth slightly pulled, then she carried the little pig and prepared to leave. On her shoulder, the little golden mouse also curiously tilted its head and looked at Yu Xingqi and Yu Si Huang. Its eyes were somewhat restless. It really wanted to jump on their bodies and grab something, but in the end it gave up. It's better to hold on to its big treasure. A big treasure is better than any other treasure. The little golden mouse used its small claws to tightly grab a strand of Luo Qingtong's hair. Wait a minute. Chapter 1175. He raised his hand to stop Luo Qingtong, but the girl quickly dodged. Then she raised her hand and a wind and lightning sword instantly swept out. The sword tip stopped in front of Yu Si Huang's body. Keizhong Point. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. When it flashed, she spat out these 3 words coldly. Instantly, Yu Si Huang's face slightly changed. What Luo Qingtong said was the flaw in his current posture. The girl pulled him out from the brink of death and cured his heart disease. Yu Si Huang didn't think that what she said was just a coincidence. Clearly, the girl in front of him was only a martial emperor, but Yu Si Huang had a feeling that even if he tried his best, he might not be able to make her stay. He finally knew the rumor that the Blackfields Ming Zun, in order to find the whereabouts of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, spent a lot of effort and almost couldn't get it. Thinking about how when she was a martial emperor, she used the heavenly lightning to kill a martial sage in front of him, the corner of Yu Si Huang's mouth twitched and he took a step back. I don't have any evil intentions. His face was helpless. I heard that you want to go to the far west wilderness? Is it for the Saint King's tomb? He raised his hand and gently touched the tear mole at the corner of his eye. Coincidentally, I also have a map of the Saint King's tomb. Let's go together? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at him. Yu Xingqi at the side quickly raised his hand and said, Sister, he indeed has a map of the Saint King's tomb. It is said that the Saint King's tomb maps will sense each other when they are close. If you bring us along when we reach the far west wilderness, we can take care of each other. My brother can definitely be used as an evil repelling weapon. If you meet someone looking for trouble, you can also let him go. Free labor and bodyguards, it's a waste not to take it, sister. Anyway, even if you don't let him follow, he will still go to the far west wilderness. When Yu Xingqi said this, Yu Sihuang's face instantly turned green. His demonic and evil sect master image. His domineering and evil overlord image of the 3 islands and 7 lands. Fuck, this Yu Xingqi was really born by his parents to trick him, right? However, after Luo Qingtong heard Yu Xingqi's words, she nodded and agreed. In any case, the map of the sage monarch's tomb in her hand was only a fragment. Since the other party had the map of the sage monarch's tomb, they would definitely encounter each other in the future. Since that was the case, it was not impossible to travel together. Furthermore, Luo Qingtong's lips slightly raised and said to Yu Sihuang, "Take out your map fragment." All right. Thinking that Luo Qingtong wanted to confirm the authenticity of the map fragments, Yu Sihuang straightforwardly took out the map of Saint Monarch's tomb. Luo Qingtong took out her 2 maps of the Saint Monarch's tomb and compared them with Yu Sihuang's map. Soon, the 3 maps overlapped, immediately revealing many hidden mechanisms and corresponding room locations that had not been revealed in the previous maps. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned slightly, the blood in them surging. Soon, she activated her eye technique, and the overlapped map was imprinted in her eyes. All right. She put away her 2 maps of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Her eyes slightly narrowed, and the map diagram in her eyes deepened. It was a pity that the energy contained in these maps was too great. Chapter 1176. After Luo Qingtong entered the Martial Emperor realm, she opened another powerful eye technique, restoration. Previously, when she was treating Yi Qianxian's meridians, she used it to restore his meridians to their peak condition. Unfortunately, she did not succeed in the end. Relying on this skill, Luo Qingtong was a rare antique master in the 24th century. She restored a lot of antiques. At the same time, her forgery skills were unparalleled. However, Luo Qingtong disdained to do this kind of thing. Anyway, it was not difficult for her to get real antiques. Why would she want to forge them? Because of this, Luo Qingtong and several international underworld organizations had quarreled several times. The other party wanted Luo Qingtong's ability very much, but in the end they failed to catch her and were attacked instead. Luo Qingtong destroyed their nest and sent them to hell to forge the antiques. After memorizing the 3 overlapped maps, Luo Qingtong agreed to go with Yu Sihuang. As long as the other party did not play any tricks, she naturally would not do anything. But if the other party had some ideas such as using the map to threaten and coerce her, then sorry, Luo Qingtong would definitely not hesitate to kick the other party away. Anyway, she had already memorized the overlapped maps of the other party and her own 2 maps. For Luo Qingtong, she would never give anyone the opportunity to threaten her. She only likes to strangle the threat in the cradle. Yu Sihuang joined Luo Qingtong's team just like that. Yu Xingqi looked at Luo Qingtong's agreement, his heart suddenly felt relieved. Mother. My unreliable big brother almost ruined my chance to follow my sister. Otherwise, I would not help him to plead. It was because he was afraid that after Luo Qingtong drove him away, she would also drive him away. However, Yu Xingqi just wanted to stick to Luo Qingtong. The other party's ability was so strong and he was also domineering. How good would it be to follow him? She didn't want to be with her annoying brother. Moreover, if she didn't stay by her sister's side, Yu Sihuang, that scoundrel, would capture her back. She didn't want that. As for Yu Sihuang, although he looked at Yu Xingqi, his face turned green. But in view of the fact that she could speak up for him in front of Luo Qingtong, he didn't force her to leave. Otherwise, he would have sent someone to bring her back to the imperial sect after joining Luo Qingtong's team. Other than setting him up, what else could this sister of his do? Yu Sihuang looked at Yu Xingqi with a headache. After the addition of this strange pair of siblings, Luo Qingtong's team became 3 people, 1 mouse, 1 pig and 1 cat. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched inexplicably as she looked at the string of pets. Squeak squeak. After the white cat joined the team, the little golden mouse ran into Luo Qingtong's lapel, leaving only a small round and furry head, looking at the white cat. The latter coldly snorted, glanced at it and ignored it, only focusing on eating her own dried fish. Meow. How could a mouse taste better than dried fish? This mouse was afraid that it would eat it? This was simply a joke. Looking at the white cat who was eating the dried fish, the little golden mouse's heart was very doubtful. as a mouse it had never been despised by a human, no, a cat like this. It was simply tearing up. The group of people and pets embarked on the journey to the far west wilderness. When he left, Yu Si Huang deliberately released his magnificent spirit boat airship. Chapter 1177. After Luo Qingtong saw the style of his spirit ship, she decisively turned around and boarded her own spirit ship. Yu Si Huang was left behind looking at his specially made-up spirit boat flying ship with a gloomy face. Isn't this spirit ship beautiful? He looked at Yu Xingqi beside him. The latter's lips twitched. Beautiful. Too beautiful. Brother, you can sit by yourself. I'm going to sister. That red and green color, that wantonly fluttering in the wind, that rose petals flying all over the sky. That's right, there was also that fragrance that drifted thousands of miles away. Especially that spirit ship was specially designed to look like a luxurious carriage. It was simply showy to the extreme. Yu Xingqi felt that don't even mention Luo Qingtong, even she felt ashamed to sit on it, okay? She rolled her eyes at her brother, then turned around and chased after Luo Qingtong. Sister, wait for me. After Yu Si Huang finished listening to her words, he looked at the beautiful and flirtatious flying boat and his face turned green. Luoli, you're dead if you go back. He gritted his teeth and said. Damn it, he asked him to inquire about evil Dr. Gui Tong's preferences. He told him that the other party would definitely like this kind of gorgeous style. The more flirtatious and gorgeous the better. And the result? If the other party was here, Yu Si Huang would choke him to death. And somewhere unknown, a certain person who was being nagged by his own sect master sneezed several times. Achoo achoo. Strange, the weather isn't cold, why did he suddenly sneeze so many times? Luo Li's face was strange. But very quickly he became happy again. Sect master went to see evil Dr. Gui Tong today. The plan he proposed would definitely win the favor of the evil doctor. This was the information he got from Ming Zun's protector. It was absolutely reliable. At that time he didn't know how the sect master would reward him. Thinking of this he felt happy. On the way to the outer realm with Yi Qianxian, Beiqing whispered to Feng Yu, last time that person from Imperial sect was eavesdropping, why didn't you seize the chance to catch him and deliberately said some nonsense? You even deliberately twisted the preferences of the evil doctor? That person is a trusted aide of the Imperial sect master. Both sides are not prepared to go to war. Even if we capture him, won't we still have to throw him out and let him go? I told him that on purpose. If he told Yu Si Huang, that would be fun. Feng Yu chuckled as he spoke. He said it according to the taste of the most gaudy dancer. At that time, if Yu Si Huang really found the demonic doctor, he would be in big trouble. He looked so devilish and evil, and his hobbies were so gaudy and strange. The evil doctor might take him for a sissy. Thinking of this, Feng Yu suddenly burst into laughter. In front of the two of them, Yi Qianren, who had completely heard their whispers, curled her lips slightly. Well done. He had forgotten about Yu Si Huang, that troublesome person. Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened when he realized that the other party had actually dared to covet his treasures. Let's speed up and return as soon as we get what we need. He suddenly felt uneasy about leaving Luo Qingtong alone in the True Spill continent. As Yi Qianxian and the others were rushing to the outer realm, Luo Qingtong, Yu Xingqi and Yu Si Huang also arrived at the Western Wilderness half a month later. Western Wilderness, Windflower City. In a restaurant at the city gate, Luo Qingtong and the others appeared in the lobby. Why did I dress up like this? Chapter 1178. His hair was adorned with pearls, his hair was swaying, his face was like Shizi, his lips were red, and his eyebrows were extremely enchanting. Even if his face was full of resentment, he still looked like a sick Shizi, so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. What's more, Yu Si Huang's face was extremely enchanting, and when he dressed up as a woman, his lethality was even greater. In an instant, since the three people entered the restaurant, those pig eyes and drooling eyes staring at Yu Si Huang never stopped. Instead, as the three people entered, they became more and more passionate and more explicit. Of course it's because you attract too much attention. Hugging the little white cat, the little loli who was bouncing beside Luo Qingtong said. Yu Xingqi poked Yu Si Huang's heart without hesitation. You don't know how many people you have provoked since we entered the territory of the far west wilderness and got off the flying ship. It seriously delayed our journey. Yu Si Huang gritted his teeth and looked at his little sister who was cheating her brother. Then I'm not attracting any more attention? He said and waved his hand. In an instant the beauty's sleeves fluttered, and a violent force blasted out from it. Instantly, a drooling pig-faced wretched man who wanted to come up and hit on her flew out. In an instant, the restaurant became silent. Everyone looked at this beauty who was obviously not to be trifled with, and in an instant, they all shrunk their heads and withdrew their gazes. Yu Xingqi followed beside Luo Qingtong, who was dressed up as a man. He made a face at Yu Huang and continued to provoke him without fear of death. That's because before you changed your clothes, not only men, you even provoked women, okay? Those love-struck fools are simply unreasonable, they can't be beaten away. If you don't dress up as a woman, who will? On the way here, there are fewer people looking for trouble, don't you know? She said and rolled her eyes at Yu Huang. The little white cat in her arms looked at her master's action, and also rolled her eyes at Yu Huang. Looking at this master and pet who were asking for a beating. The veins on Yu Huang's forehead bulged. He felt that he was able to endure until now and not choke Yu Xingqi to death. He really broke through his limit. She was definitely a sister that he had picked up from the streets. Just when the blue veins on Yu Huang's forehead were about to explode, Yu Xingqi's eyes turned, approaching Luo Qingtong, and asked, "Sister, what are we doing here? Shouldn't we go to the first city in the center of the far west wilderness, the Savage City?" The Saint King's tomb was not far from the Wild City. The Savage City was the most prosperous and bustling place in the far west wasteland. It was the most developed area in the far west wilderness. Most of the families and forces that had come to the far west desolate region were gathered there. That place was known as the #1 city in the far west wilderness. Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang originally thought that Luo Qingtong would directly go to the Wild City, but they didn't expect that after she entered the far west desolate region, she would turn around and come here. "I need to stay here for a while." Luo Qingtong was dressed in black, dressed as an inconspicuous man. The aura and demonic aura around her body were covered by the Cheongqi 100 transformations on her body. At this moment, Luo Qingtong didn't look any different from the other pioneers who came to the far west wilderness. Only Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang, who were beside her, looked like two young ladies from some big family who ran out to play. Chapter 1179. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over his charming and enchanting female attire. In an instant, the corner of her mouth twitched fiercely and she raised her hand to support her forehead. It was obvious that Yu Huang himself did not have a trace of seductive manner. His actions and sitting posture were very proper. But he couldn't resist the other party's face, which was simply too monstrous. Just a casual raise of her eyebrows or a glance was enough to give off a seductive feeling. This kind of vixen déjà vu. That's amazing. Luo Qingtong looked at him, the corners of her mouth twitching. If she had known that this fellow was so attractive, she would never have agreed to go with him. The three of them sat down in a private room in the restaurant. Luo Qingtong sat by the window. Her slender fingers gently held the white wine cup and gently swayed it. She looked down at the busy street below. Fenghua City. Su Yu and the others had sent a message saying that they were in this city. Fenghua City wasn't considered a high-level city among the developed cities in Savage City, but it wasn't low either. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to enter. The wilderness of the far west wilderness was extremely dangerous. This was the wasteland of the various large families and forces. It was different from the mountain barren areas in the eastern region. The demonic beasts here were even more ferocious. It was natural selection. And even more powerful. The mountain ranges in the eastern domain were all close to the cities. Powerful demonic beasts wouldn't live there. However, the depths of the far west wasteland was a paradise for powerful demonic beasts. The night of the far west desolate region was the hunting ground for demonic beasts. All kinds of violent demon beasts. Without the protection and defense of the city, ordinary martial artists would not be able to withstand the hunting of the demonic beasts. Luo Qingtong's eyes scanned the streets. She hadn't seen Su Yu and the others in a long time. The same went for the Luo clan's Iron Army and the Heavenly Demon Group. He wondered how they were doing now. The news they sent back was good. However, in a place like the far western wastelands, one would have to endure a lot of pain and suffering in order to make a name for oneself. Luo Qingtong came this time to see them. At the same time, he could also increase their strength. If it was suitable, he would see if he could bring them along to the Saint Monarch's tomb to search for opportunities. Therefore, Luo Qingtong deliberately took a detour and didn't go directly to Wild City. Instead, she made a trip to Fenghua City first. Luo Qingtong, Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi ate together. Because of Yu Huang's violent actions, which directly sent people flying. Until the three of them finished their meal, they didn't encounter anyone who came to provoke them. However, after they left the restaurant, someone quietly followed them. The veins on Luo Qingtong's forehead throbbed, and he directly bought a gauze hat and placed it on Yu Huang's head. If you dare to take it down, then scram with them. Also take care of them. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and looked at him. The latter's face turned green. I got it. In fact, Yu Huang himself couldn't take it anymore. As the future overlord of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, he grew up surrounded by people. When had he ever been coveted like this? The way those people looked at him was simply too disgusting. Yu Huang's face turned green. He directly put on the gauze hat and clenched his fists, walking towards those people hiding in the dark. Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi continued to walk forward. Chapter 1180. A voice drifted into Luo Qingtong's ears from not far away. Tiske heavenly diabolism is in trouble this time. That's right. At the same time, another voice was heard. I heard that the Qing family has invited a very powerful big shot to teach the heavenly diabolism a lesson. He's playing with the heavenly diabolism in the dark color arena. That's right. The Qing family is determined to deal with the heavenly diabolism this time. They must have spent a lot of money to invite that big shot. But I don't know why they have such a deep hatred for the heavenly diabolism. I heard that the Qing family was involved in the extermination of the deputy leader of the heavenly diabolism, Su Yu's family. And Su Yu's master seems to have robbed something from the Qing family. In short, the hatred between the two sides is irreconcilable. However, what the Qing clan did this time is really too vicious. I heard that they found the remaining members of the Su Yu's family and released them. They are playing with the heavenly diabolism Su Yu in the dark color arena like playing with a dog. At the corner of the street, a group of 3 people was talking as they turned the corner. However, just as they appeared at the corner of the street, a figure suddenly appeared beside them. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and hooked the person who was talking the most enthusiastically to her. What are you doing? The person who was talking enthusiastically wanted to resist the moment Luo Qingtong hooked him. However, before he could do anything, he instantly felt his limbs and bones losing strength. He could not exert any strength at all. In an instant, his expression turned to one of extreme horror. He was so frightened that his legs almost turned to jelly. Nothing, I just found what you said interesting, so I wanted to ask you where the dark color arena is? Luo Qingtong looked at his horrified eyes and patted his shoulder with a smile. However, the smile in her eyes was so cold that it did not enter her eyes at all. The Qing family? Big shot? Luo Qingtong chuckled. The smile on his lips became more and more evil. The other party really had no memory at all. After suffering such a huge loss last time, they still dared to cause trouble for Su Yu and the others twice in a row. Did he think that in the far west wilderness the emperor was too far away and he couldn't care less about Su Yu and the others? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, the smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. Ever since she entered the city, she hadn't received any warning from Su Yu. So, which big shot had blocked Su Yu's warning? He didn't want their news to spread and let her know? Interesting. She was going to meet them now. The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was cold. She raised her hand and patted the person who seemed to have stiffened all over. Bring me to the dark arena. I will reward you. Too lazy to ask him again, Luo Qingtong let him lead the way. That person was restrained by Luo Qingtong, so how could he dare to say a word? Moreover, although the other party's cultivation was not high, it was obvious that a casual pat could make him lose all his strength. He was not to be trifled with. He immediately led the way obediently. Together with his companions, he brought Luo Qingtong to the dark color arena. This is the place. Chapter 1181. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded, then patted him on the shoulder and let him go. Reward. Before the man could react, he found that the power that had been drained from his body had returned. Not only that, but his body was also particularly light. It seemed that Luo Qingtong's pat just now had dispersed all the hidden dangers that had accumulated in his body for so many years. The man was aghast and looked at Luo Qingtong with unspeakable awe. However, when he raised his head again, Luo Qingtong's figure had disappeared. Even the figure of the little lowly dressed in a pink robe next to him had disappeared. While the man was still in a daze, Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi had already swept into the strange bladed building. Dark color arena? It was a bit interesting. Luo Qingtong looked at the decoration in the building that was obviously different from the bloody arena in the black field, and her lips curved slightly. It was the first time that she had seen another arena other than the black field's bloody arena. She didn't know if there was any difference between the dark color arena and the bloody arena. If there wasn't, she was afraid that she would be very disappointed. When Luo Qingtong's figure stepped into the dark color arena, somewhere in the dark color arena. Su Yu and the people of the Luo clan's Iron Army were confronting a group of people. That group of people was the Chung clan's force in the far west wilderness. The leader was an elder of the Chung clan. Looking at his strength, he was at the peak of the martial emperor realm. His aura was faintly integrated with the surrounding spiritual energy, as if he had touched the level of the martial emperor realm. At this moment, he was looking at Su Yu and the others with a sneer and said coldly, "How about it? Su Yu? Isn't my suggestion fair? The remaining people of your Su clan are all here. As long as you manipulate them to win the life and death battle, I'll let one of them go. How about it?" The elder of the Qing clan looked at Su Yu's expression with a strange smile. He wasn't afraid that the other party wouldn't agree. Their Qing clan had invited that big shot over. No matter how powerful those strange magic tools Su Yu and the others possessed were, could they do anything to that big shot? That was an elder of a great sect in the southern mountain range. Moreover, he was a Saint Realm expert. If Su Yu and the others wanted to die, they could just snatch him away. Let's see how they die then. The elder of the Cheng family looked very cold, watching Su Yu's expression as if he was waiting for a good show. He was waiting to play this little bastard to death. Relying on the power of evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he actually dared to make a move against the Cheng family. It was a pity that his entire family had been wiped out and he was a bastard born as a slave. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye didn't even bother to pay attention to him. She wasn't even willing to avenge him. He even sent him to an extremely dangerous place like the Western Wasteland. When the people of the Qing clan first offended Luo Qingtong, they were terrified for a while. Later, when they found that Luo Qingtong didn't have any intention of avenging Su Yu, they became bolder. They thought that Luo Qingtong disdained to stand up for a slave. The reason why she dealt with them before was that they had offended her by coming to snatch Su Yu away. It was a slap to her face, so she acted. Chapter 1182. She didn't expect the Cheng clan to be so ruthless. Their Su family's generals, who were supposed to be executed because of their defeat in the war, had all been secretly swapped out by them. They were hidden in the dark and tortured. Su Yu's heart was glad and resentful at the same time. She was glad that she wasn't impulsive at that time and asked Master to exterminate the Cheng clan. Otherwise, it would be impossible to know that these Su clan people were still alive. She was resentful because the Cheng clan actually tortured the Su clan people like this. Su Yu looked at the Su clan's generals who were led out of the arena. Each and every one of them didn't have an intact and miserable appearance. Her eyes were red. Her cousins, as well as her uncles from the direct line of descent, as well as the numerous clan generals who were loyal to the direct line of descent of the Su clan. Su Yu's hands clenched tightly. "I promise you." She had no other choice. The elder of the southern mountain range invited by the Qing clan was watching all of this with cold eyes from the top of the private room upstairs. She dared to snatch them. Not to mention the Su clan people, even the people of the Luo clan Iron Army behind her would not be spared. She couldn't bring the people of the Luo clan Iron Army into danger because of her own selfishness. Master gave the Luo clan people to her so that she could lead them to gain experience in the western wilderness and make a name for themselves. She didn't want to use them for her own personal gain and revenge. Su Yu fiercely bit her lips and agreed in a stern voice. "Ah, good." The elder of the Qing clan laughed out loud when he saw that she had agreed to it. The so-called life and death battle was a special gambling game in the western wilderness arena. Because the people of the western wilderness went out to hunt every day and engaged in life and death battles, they accumulated a lot of negative emotions in their hearts. These negative emotions couldn't be completely vented by watching other people's gambling games. But if they were asked to fight by themselves, they cherished their bodies, so it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, in the arena of the far west desolate region, a so-called literary battle was invented. That was, through a special artifact, the participants of the fighting game could use their spiritual power to control the movements of the contestants in the arena. Like a marionette, he manipulated the opponent to attack and defend. This method not only satisfied the sadistic mentality of the far western desolate region's martial artists, but also allowed them to vent their negative emotions. It was very popular in the arena of the far west wilderness. And now, the elder of the Qing family was going to bet with Su Yu in this kind of literary way. He wanted Su Yu to personally control the generals of the Su family and watch the Su family's people die helplessly under his hands. The arena for the one battle was a very special room. Inside the room, the use of all power was restricted. Only the most primitive and pure physical strength could be used in the battle. The mental strength of the participants would enter the room through a special artifact, controlling their respective competitors to fight. Usually, the contestants for this kind of literary battle were all slaves. However, today the people who stood in the middle of the fighting field were from both the Qing clan and the Su clan. Those generals of Su clan who were imprisoned and tortured by Qing clan were dragged out of the troop like dogs and pushed into that room. Chapter 1183. With the physique of the Su clan's people. Even if Su Yu was a Sage Realm expert, she wouldn't be able to defeat him. Third great uncle is really powerful to think of such a way to torture Su Yu. When the time comes, he will personally control his own Su clan's people to die. Presumably, his heart will be in great pain. This can be considered as revenge for the evil Dr. Gui Tong killing one of our Qing clan's foreign elders and robbing us of our Earth-level spirit ship. The Qing clan's disciple thought so and suddenly felt even more proud. As for the Qing clan's elder, it was needless to say, who let Su Yu be under the control of evil Dr. Gui Tong. They couldn't deal with evil Dr. Gui Tong, so naturally they could only vent their anger on him. It just so happened that he had enmity with their Qing clan, so it was just like killing two birds with one stone. The Qing clan's elder thought and suddenly sneered as he put on the special magic tool issued by the Dark Arena. When the magic tool was put on his finger, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have established a subtle connection with the Qing clan's disciple in the room. At the same time in the room, the Qing clan's disciple clearly felt that his control over his body was taken away. However, because he knew this when he first came in, he didn't panic in his heart. Su Yu's side was the same. After she injected her spiritual power into the magic tool, she immediately felt that she had established a connection with the Su clan's general. Jia Su Yu, are you ready? Ready, then let's begin. After the Qing clan's elder controlled the disciple's movements, he slightly moved his body. Then with a boom he launched an attack at the Su clan's general. Bang! Su Yu controlled the body of the Su clan's general to dodge. However, after a long period of abuse and torture, the Su clan's general's physical quality was very weak. She barely controlled him to dodge to the side, but he was still swept by the attack of the Qing clan's disciple controlled by the Qing clan's elder. In an instant, the Su clan's general vomited blood and flew to the side, heavily smashing into the wall. Cousin. In the one duel room, all the pain from the attacks would be borne by the contestant. The person who was controlling it would not feel any harm. However, when he saw the Su clan's general being sent flying while vomiting blood, Su Yu felt as if his heart was being ruthlessly torn apart. She was the youngest in the Su family, but because of her high innate talent, she was raised as a boy. She had been the pride of the Su clan's main branch for 18 years. These Su clan's generals had also protected her for 18 years. In the end, she couldn't do anything to help them. She couldn't even save them. Third brother. Looking at the Su family's high-ranking officer being ruthlessly thrown out, the Su family's troops under the control of the Qing family instantly burst into a commotion. The Su family's generals, who had been tortured until they were as thin as firewood, looked at the scene in the one duel room with red eyes. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the members of the Qing family. Trash of the Qing family. All of you will die a horrible death. Since you can't beat our Su clan, you resorted to underhanded means. In the future, when hell reincarnates, we will not let you off. You people of the Qing family, just you wait. Chapter 1184. That's right. Fight again. We soldiers can die in battle, but we can't kneel to live. Fight again. Following their voices, the Su family's general, who had been sent flying while vomiting blood, stood up shakily. His internal organs were almost displaced by the attack just now, and the blood he spat out was red with a tinge of black. He wiped the blood from his lips while supporting himself on the wall behind him to stand up. Again. Su Yu, your cousin's dignity is in your hands. Don't let me die too cowardly. He spat out the blood in his mouth as he spoke. Shameless boasting. I'll fulfill your wishes and send you off one by one. The Qing family elder sneered and controlled the Qing family disciple on his side to launch an attack. Being able to let you die under Su Yu's control is considered a worthy death. Haha. The Qing family elder laughed loudly and controlled the Qing family disciple to launch an extremely ferocious killing move. Cousin. Just when Su Yu's eyes were red and she didn't dare to look, a voice suddenly resounded in her ears. 8 steps to the left, turn right and roll. Swing your blade. Following this extremely familiar voice, Su Yu subconsciously followed the meaning of the words. However, swing the blade? Where did the blade come from? Everyone was attracted by the voice of these words. Their gazes shifted to the room where one duel was taking place. On the other hand, The elder of the Cheng family who was controlling the disciples of the Cheng family laughed wantonly. Ah, where did this fool come from? That Su family general doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Idiot. The opponent was attacked from the beginning, so how could he have a chance to touch a weapon? Furthermore, even if he has a weapon in his hand, he can't dodge the attack controlled by me. However, before he could finish his words, he was instantly like a chicken that was choked by the neck. In an instant, all the mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Under Su Yu's control, the Su family's general took 8 steps to the left, then turned to the right and then fiercely rolled. Coincidentally, it rolled to the side of the weapon rack. There was a saber right in front of him. This series of actions miraculously allowed him to avoid the attack of the Cheng family disciple controlled by the Cheng family elder. This caused the Su clan's general, who was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, to be swept away by the aftermath of the attack, to not receive the slightest bit of attack or collision. Clang. As he rolled to the side of the weapon rack, he pulled out the long saber and suddenly swung it. Along with this miserable cry, under the control of the elder of Cheng clan, the disciple of Cheng clan who had just released his killing move covered his arm as he screamed miserably and rolled on the ground. His right hand had been severed. In the one-duel room, one could not use any power other than physical strength. Even if the true strength of the Cheng clan's descendant was enough to instantly kill the extremely weak Su clan's general. However, under the situation where he couldn't use any cultivation power, his arm was forcibly severed. In the next second. Chapter 1185. At the same time, the Su family's general also fell heavily to the ground, panting heavily. He won. He actually won. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They didn't know why the Su family's general was clearly going to die in the next second, but at the last moment he suddenly turned the situation around. His last series of actions was simply like moving clouds and flowing water, perfect as a textbook. Every step he took was just right. Just right to avoid the attack of the Cheng family's disciple and get the saber. Direct counterattack. This series of actions was simply the pinnacle of actual combat. The person who spoke must be very experienced in actual combat. Everyone thought so and immediately looked towards the door where the voice came from. There Luo Qingtong was dressed in green, elegant and plain, looking very unremarkable. But her face was filled with an undisguised evil smile, which made the elegant and plain aura around her unconcealable, revealing an indescribable evil and domineering aura. Everyone looked at this obviously very ordinary-looking youth, but inexplicably couldn't move their eyes away. Luo Qingtong slowly walked in from outside the door. The smile on her lips was extremely evil and unrestrained. Life and death battle? Interesting. I'll play with you. As Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside, the Cheng family's elder who had lost the Cheng family's disciple looked at her with a cold expression. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to play with me? His voice was cold and stern. The other party ruined his good thing, simply deserved to die. She actually dared to say that she wanted to continue playing with him? The Cheng family's elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. On the other side, after Su Yu let the Luo family's Iron Army's people help her cousin up, she immediately looked over with a pleasantly surprised expression. Mas? She was about to speak, but Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop her. Yi Jiao Tianxia's nameless pawn. What? Cheng family's elder doesn't dare to play with me? Luo Qingtong walked over to Su Yu and the others. She sat down in front of a group of excited people. At the same time, she used her eyes to signal them to sit down. Su Yu and the others couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Seeing that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity, they immediately suppressed the excitement in their hearts and forced themselves to sit down calmly. But in fact, their hearts were already crazily thinking, Master is here. Master is here. This is really too great. The group of people were really sullen. Especially the Luo family's Iron Army's people. Seeing Su Yu's people's heart, they couldn't bear it. Luo Qingtong's appearance. Everyone was surprised, but their hearts were also filled with joy and excitement. Master. Kill Cheng family's peoples. They had previously abused the Su family so miserably. Master's master, Su. You must help Su Yu to vent her anger. The Luo family's Iron Army's people suppressed their voices and whispered to Luo Qingtong. The words of the Su family's general in the one-duel room just now deeply moved them. The Luo family's Iron Army's people were almost all from the army, so they empathized with the Su family's people. Because of this, they especially hated the Cheng family's people. Don't forget, the Luo family's old man was also wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In the end, he was almost killed by King Dong Li's cunning rabbit and cooked dog. Chapter 1186. Yes. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She had just arrived here and she had already learned almost everything from the onlookers. The people of the Qing family were really looking for death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. The bloody light in her eyes glowed, and there was a murderous aura in her beautiful eyes. Humph! I didn't know that there was such a person like you in the heavenly diabolism. Yijio? The elder from the Cheng family looked coldly in Luo Qingtong's direction with an unfriendly gaze. There was no such person before the heavenly diabolism. You also said that there was no such person before. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She lazily leaned against the back of the chair she was sitting on. His eyes were shimmering with crimson mist as he looked at the elder of the Cheng family. Can't you just join now? She smiled wantonly. So you people of the Qing family are in charge of everything, and you even care whether the heavenly diabolism recruits new members or not? She raised her eyebrows as she spoke. It was an ordinary face that had been disguised, but when the girl raised her eyebrows, it revealed a myriad of charm, enchanting and domineering. It was as if an originally ordinary robe suddenly emitted endless light, transforming into a rainbow-colored feather robe. Luo Qingtong didn't suppress her aura anymore. She leaned back in her chair, and her eyes were cold and domineering. She stared at the elder of the Qing family in front of her. She looked like she was saying, I just can't stand you, so I deliberately joined the heavenly diabolism to fight against you. Bite me if you dare. Looking at the young man's provocative eyes, the blue veins on the elder's forehead twitched. Good, good, good. He sneered 3 times and looked at Luo Qingtong with anger. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to stand up for others. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? That Cheng family elder looked at Luo Qingtong's ordinary face with disdain. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Luo Qingtong used Qiongqi's 100 changes to conceal her aura and temperament. She also weakened her appearance, but she didn't change her facial features. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan was able to see through her real age at a glance. He immediately felt disdain in his heart. He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He actually came to stand up for someone else. He had seen too many of such hotheads. That Cheng family elder didn't put Luo Qingtong in his eyes at all. What he didn't know was that this ordinary youth that he looked down on was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that they hated so much that they gnashed their teeth in anger but couldn't afford to offend. Not only that, his opponent was a peak martial emperor who could instantly kill him. His disdain and arrogance made him look like a clown, which made people laugh. Really? I wonder what a person who can't even compare to a Tom, Dick, or Harry. Luo Qingtong didn't get angry when she heard the words of that Cheng family elder. She used her gaze to suppress the anger in Su Yu and the others' hearts. She looked at that Cheng family elder indifferently, and the smile on her lips was wanton and mocking. That elder from the Cheng clan instantly recalled the match he had just lost to the other party. Not only did he not manage to deal with Su Yu and the others, but he also lost a Cheng family disciple. Chapter 1187. Fine. I'll play with you. The Cheng family elder looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. However, Su Yu, the winner of the one battle is still the 2 of us. It's not impossible if you want this kid to play for you. We'll raise the stakes. The Cheng family elder sneered and said, the life and death battle is not supposed to injure the participants. But today I want to change the way we play. Your Su family is going to fight against our Cheng family. If the people on the stage are injured, the people participating in the one battle below the stage will also be injured. How about it? Do you dare to bet? The Cheng family elder sneered as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu beside her. He originally wanted to make this request, but he wanted to make Su Yu sad and feel despair before making the request. He didn't expect this kid called Yi Jiao to suddenly appear and win this round for Su Yu. However, they wouldn't be so lucky in the next round. The Cheng family elder's expression was cold, but Su Yu and Luo Qingtong's expressions were indifferent. I agree, Su Yu said without hesitation. She believed in her master. Good. The Cheng family elder sneered and replied. However, at this moment Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Wait, the youth's voice sounded and the Cheng family elder sneered and looked at her. What? Are you afraid? Since you're afraid, then get lost. This isn't a place for children to play games. The Cheng family elder said with disdain. His target wasn't Luo Qingtong, but the other party who deliberately came out to stir up trouble. After dealing with Su Yu and the others, he would slowly deal with this kid. "No, elder of Cheng clan, you misunderstood me," Luo Qingtong said as she slowly got up from her seat and leaned forward. With her hands crossed in front of her body, she raised her head and looked at the elder of Cheng clan with a sneer. "What I'm trying to say is that it's just the two of you. What kind of bet is that?" Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at the members of the Cheng family. "If you want to play, then play big. Look at how badly the people on the stage are injured. Everyone on the other side must be injured like that. How is it?" She looked at him with a smile. "Do you people from the Cheng clan dare to bet with me?" Luo Qingtong deliberately emphasized the word, everyone. As long as that elder of the Cheng clan agreed, not only the members of the Cheng clan in the far west wilderness, but also the members of the Cheng clan in the Rising Sun Nation would not be able to escape. Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the matter between the Cheng family and Su Yu. After all, this was Su Yu's personal grudge. She should take revenge with her own hands. However, the members of the Cheng clan had obviously crossed her bottom line this time. Luo Qingtong didn't want to keep them alive anymore. She wouldn't let anyone from the Cheng clan off. Fine. The elder of Cheng clan sneered at Luo Qingtong. He didn't understand the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's words. However, even if he did, he didn't care. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly win against him. Betting everyone as a bet would only make the members of Heavenly Diabolism die more miserably. He originally wanted to humiliate Su Yu, and then kill all the people of Heavenly Diabolism here. This elder of Cheng clan wasn't stupid enough to let Su Yu and the others go back after humiliating them. He would let them tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye and then take revenge on the Cheng clan. Chapter 1188. Su Yu, what do you say? He looked at Su Yu sinisterly. The latter nodded without hesitation. Just do as he says. Whatever master says they will do. Su Yu believed that Luo Qingtong wouldn't lose. Even if Luo Qingtong really asked them to die, she wouldn't even blink. Not to mention the people from the Luo family's iron army behind her. They swore to follow Luo Qingtong's orders for life. Never question. This was one of the essential qualities of a soldier. Good. Since none of you have any objections, then let's begin. The sneer in the eyes of Elder Tian from the Cheng family became even colder. Su Yu and the others were really grabbing onto a random person as a life-saving straw. Did they really think that this Yi Jiu could help them win these literary battles just because he had some ability? Idiot. Since he dared to make such a request and let Su Yu fight with him, of course he came prepared. He wanted to humiliate Su Yu to death and let her see with her own eyes how the Su family members died one by one in her hands. He had been careless previously and allowed Yi Jiu to take advantage of him. The other party's combat experience was indeed extremely rich. It was really good to have such keen combat instincts at such a young age. But if Su Yu and the others thought that they could win by relying on him, then they were gravely mistaken. Because, opening Heaven's eyes, the Cheng family elder looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and sneered as he raised his hand to wipe his eyes. In an instant, there seemed to be a ball of energy revolving in his eyes, forming the appearance of an eye within an eye. It was a new unique skill that the elder from the Cheng clan had obtained. It could force one's energy into his eyes, allowing his eyes to see through the opponent's moves in a short period of time and predict what the opponent's next move would be. Ever since the Cheng family elder obtained this unique skill, he had experimented with it several times in private. He found that this opening Heaven's eyes was indeed miraculous. The only drawback was that it consumed too much strength, and it could only see one movement of the opponent clearly. After the Cheng clan elder made his move, the surrounding people instantly noticed the change in his eyes, and they immediately cried out in alarm. That's the eye of a Cheng clan elder. Looks like it's a very powerful unique martial art. The Cheng clan sent the Heavenly Diabolism's people to participate in this one duel. Obviously they are well prepared. I knew it. The Cheng family has the upper hand, so why are they fighting with the Heavenly Diabolism? They even said that they will let one person go if they win one round. So he was just toying with them. Yes. It seemed like the Cheng clan was determined to deal with Tianxia's people. It was estimated that none of these Su family members would survive. All of you will die on the literary battle stage. What are you talking about? Don't forget that the Heavenly Diabolism's people have promised the Cheng family that they will be as injured as the people on the stage. I think they're finished? Yes. Sigh. It was also proposed by Yi Jiu who just came. Otherwise Su Yu would suffer at most. Great, the entire Heavenly Diabolism's people are going to be in big trouble. Yes. A group of people shook their heads and sighed. The Heavenly Diabolism's people are also unlucky. They originally wanted to win the one duel with Yi Jiao's strength. Chapter 1189. That's right. That Yi Jiao is too arrogant. Now he and the Heavenly Diabolism are going to be in trouble. A group of people were talking at once. Many people looked at the Heavenly Diabolism sympathetically. Among these people, many were familiar with Su Yu and the rest. They had even worked together before. They admired Su Yu and the rest's character. But this time, the Cheng family had invited the elder from the southern region to oversee the situation. No one dared to help them. When they saw that the Heavenly Diabolism was going to lose, they sighed and felt pity in their hearts. When those people of Cheng family saw the elder's action, they immediately laughed complacently. They were all aware of the Cheng clan's elder's hidden trump card. The other party had been hiding until now, just to give the Su family a critical blow at this moment. They looked at the direction of Luo Qingtong and the rest with a complacent expression, waiting to see the despair on Su Yu and the rest's faces. However, Su Yu and the rest's faces didn't change at all. They sat calmly beside Luo Qingtong and didn't have any doubts or uneasiness. They wouldn't regret their master's order even if they had to die. Moreover, how could these people understand their master's ability? Su Yu and the rest's faces were as calm as a mountain. Luo Qingtong chuckled and looked at the elder's eyes meaningfully. Forcing the breath in one's body into one's eyes to form a new pupil within the pupil, which can temporarily see through the opponent's actions? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved slightly. Interesting. She murmured softly. Then she raised her voice and looked at the elder of the Cheng family. Since you're ready, let's start. She originally thought that there was no suspense in this battle of words. She didn't expect the opponent to have such a trump card. This ignited a lot of interest in Luo Qingtong. She would fight with this opening heaven's eye. As Luo Qingtong spoke, the blood-red vortex in her eyes suddenly began to spin. Bring him here. The Cheng clan elder sneered and waved his hand. In the face of Luo Qingtong's calmness, he and the other members of the Cheng clan took it as a bluff and forced themselves to remain calm. When the Su family's people died one by one in their hands, let's see how those people from the Heavenly Evil faction would be able to maintain their calm. He wanted those people from the Su clan to be turned into human rods. At that time, the Heavenly Diabolism's people would also end up like this. As the elder of the Cheng family waved his hand, a general of the Su family and a disciple of the Cheng family appeared in Wendo's room. This time, the disciples sent by the Cheng clan were all tall and sturdy, and it was obvious that they were experts in brute force. This disciple of the Cheng clan might not be very strong, but in terms of physical strength, he was the strongest among the Cheng clan's disciples. His figure was like an iron tower as he walked into Wendo's room. His footsteps made thumping sounds on the ground. Among the people from the Su family, the one who was let out was the thinnest one. Not only that, his age was also relatively old. His figure staggered a little as he walked out. Uncle. Seeing the figure of the Su family's general, Su Yu's palm clenched tightly. The people from the Cheng clan were too shameless. Chapter 1190. The Heavenly Diabolism was bound to lose. This was an unfair fight to begin with. Moreover, it was obvious that the elder from the Cheng clan had cultivated a technique that could help him win the one battle. The Heavenly Diabolism had no chance of winning at all. That young man called Yi Jiao, no matter how powerful his combat experience was or how sharp his combat instincts were, could he be compared to the Cheng clan elder who had opened his heaven's eye? The Su clan was bound to lose. Everyone sighed inexplicably in their hearts. Luo Qingtong had already received the special Dharma weapon from Su Yu that could participate in the one battle. She was rather surprised to find that the refining of this Dharma weapon was not ordinary. It seemed that the background of the Dark Colors arena was not small. Luo Qingtong looked at this special Dharma weapon that was obviously not refined by an ordinary weapon refiner and put it on her finger. In an instant, she felt that the Su clan's general in the one duel room was already under her control. Kit, since you're ready, then come. That Su clan elder laughed sharply and then fiercely controlled the Cheng clan disciple who was as strong as an iron tower to launch an attack. Bang bang bang. The two of them fought in the one battle room. Although it was the Su clan general and the Cheng clan disciple who were fighting inside. But the real battle was between Luo Qingtong and the Cheng clan elder's consciousness. Both of them controlled their own people and launched attacks on each other. For a moment, the entire battle room was filled with muffled sounds of fists. The two people who were being controlled were carrying out the most primitive battle. Under the control of the Qing family's elder, the sturdy Qing family's disciple kept launching attacks. And that Su clan general, under the control of Luo Qingtong, was only constantly defending. The surrounding people saw this and shook their heads constantly. The difference in physical quality of both sides is too great. Although this Yi Jiao is considered smart and knows how to defend and wait for the opportunity to attack, but that Qing clan disciple's attacks are too fierce and that Su clan general's body is too weak. How could a body that had been abused and hollowed out withstand so many attacks? Even if he only suffered a little damage at a time, the accumulation was enough to cause the Su family's general to suffer great damage. Who knew when his body would reach a critical point? Then when the next attack came he couldn't take it anymore, and he was sent flying. However, while all of them were thinking like this, they didn't know that the heart of that disciple from the Qing clan was filled with astonishment after every single attack. His fist seemed to land on the Su clan's general every time. But, in reality he hadn't hit anything. Every time the Su family's general retreated to defend, it was actually when his attack range was exhausted. It looked like it had blocked his attack, but in fact, when his attack reached that point it no longer had any attacking power. He didn't even touch or injure the other party. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. What kind of precise calculation and attack prediction was this, to be able to defend at such a precise point every time? The other party hadn't been attacked at all. Granduncle, you mustn't be fooled. Chapter 1191. This Qing clan disciple had no way of telling the Qing clan's elder what he felt when he attacked. It was just like how when they were attacked, the person controlling them would not be able to feel the damage at all. The disciple of the Qing clan was terrified to the extreme. But the Qing clan's elder was completely unaware. Boom. After another heavy punch, the Su clan's general seemed to be unable to bear it. He staggered back a step as if he was about to be blown away. Seeing this scene, the Qing clan's elder suddenly laughed out loud. Finally unable to bear it, right? He was very proud in his heart. He thought that Yi Jiao was very powerful. In the end, he didn't even use open heaven's eyes. The opponent couldn't hold on. That's right, the Su clan's generals were so weak. This time the one he chose was the weakest among them. Against the strongest disciple on their side, there was no suspense at all. The Qing family's elder laughed and controlled the Qing family's child to jump up high in an instant. The child rushed towards the Su family's high-ranking officer who was about to be sent flying. He directly punched towards the Su clan's general's left arm. He wanted to break his opponent's arms and legs one by one and turn him into a human stick before killing him. The Qing clan's elder had a sinister smile on his face. On the other hand, the face of the Qing clan's disciple under his control was twisted in extreme horror. This was because he clearly saw that the Su clan's general, who seemed to have been beaten back and was about to fly out, had a smile on his face. It was a relaxed, relieved and comfortable smile. On Tianxia's side, Luo Qingtong's lips were also slightly hooked up. Boom. Her mind moved fiercely and in an instant the Su clan's general attacked. Just as the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air and charged at him, the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air. The opponent's center was wide open. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su clan's general and rushed towards the Qing clan disciple. Bang! She directly let the opponent kick her. As for the Qing family's elder, he noticed that something was amiss when the Su family's general moved. He hurriedly controlled the Qing family disciple to dodge. However, the latter was in midair and was a natural target. How could he dodge the attack of the Su family's general? Left with no other choice, the elder of the Qing clan had to activate his heaven's eye. In an instant, he saw through the landing point of the kick from the Su clan's general. He immediately forced the Qing clan's disciple to twist his body, avoiding the kick from the Su clan's general. However, before he could reveal a smug smile on his face, the next second, bang! Just as he controlled the Qing family's disciple to turn around, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through his intentions. She directly changed the direction of her leg and blocked the Qing family's disciple's path. It was as if that kick had been waiting for him all along. Boom! Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. In the next second, she controlled the foot of the Su clan's general to sweep fiercely. In an instant, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Chapter 1192. A large part of his chest had caved in. His entire back was bent out of shape. Obviously, the kick that Luo Qingtong used on the Su family's general had broken all his ribs. Not only that, those broken ribs had pierced into his body. It didn't break out of his back because the body of the Su family's general was too weak. The strength that he could exert wasn't that strong. Otherwise, this kick was enough to kick this Qing family's disciple to death. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She controlled the Su family's general to walk in front of the Qing family's disciple who was screaming and rolling on the ground. With one kick, she crushed all his limbs. How could Luo Qingtong not know what the Qing family's elder wanted to do? He wanted to turn the Su family's people and Tianxia's people into sticks? She would help the Qing family's people. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general's movements and slowly crushed the Qing family's disciple's limbs. If she didn't see wrongly when he first entered this Wendual room, the Qing family's disciple's eyes were very excited and bloodthirsty, right? He must have spent a lot of energy and effort to snatch this opportunity from the Qing family's people, right? How could she let it go to waste? Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary to let the other party stay in this Wendual room a little longer, so that the people outside could better appreciate the things that he wanted to do to the Su family's people, but in the end, it was retribution that fell on him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. In the Wendual room, the Qing family's disciple screamed miserably. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the Qing family's people who were already pale beyond compare. How is this possible? The Qing family's elder looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He didn't know how the other party saw through his actions in the end. He had clearly used open heaven's eyes. Logically speaking, he should have avoided the opponent's attack. However, Luo Qingtong controlled the kick of the Su family's general. It was as if she was deliberately waiting for him when he controlled the Qing family's disciple to twist his body. What was going on? That Qing clan elder's eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he tried. What they didn't know was that he had indeed seen through the kick of the Su clan's general and had successfully avoided it. However, Luo Qingtong also saw through his dodging action. He could rely on his open heaven's eye to see through Luo Qingtong's control over the Su family's general. However, Luo Qingtong was able to see through every action of the Qing family's disciple under his control. Luo Qingtong's pupil technique was simply a cheat-like existence in a situation where she couldn't use any power to protect her body and couldn't use any cultivation base. An invincible killing machine. The Qing clan elder's heaven's eye opening couldn't compare at all. Come, let's continue. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general and kicked the Qing family's disciple who was crushed like mud out of the Wendual room. Chapter 1193. In the eyes of the Qing family, the young man's smile was a forced calmness and a bluff. But now they realized that he simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. Who was this person? Where did he come from? How could he have such a terrifying combat ability and combat experience? Even the Qing family elder couldn't defeat him even after using Heaven's Eye? The Qing family elders looked at the smile on Luo Qingtong's face and shuddered in their hearts. All of a sudden they had a feeling. That was agreeing to this bet. Maybe it wasn't the heavenly diabolism's tragedy and mistake. It was theirs. They were gravely mistaken. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with stiff faces and terrified hearts. The surrounding people were also shocked and regretful. Those people who just said that Luo Qingtong was bound to lose and that the heavenly diabolism people were unlucky were now staring at the scene in the room with wide eyes. Oh my God! The crowd didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it. He was obviously the weakest general of the Su family who had been abused and had no strength left. He actually won against the Qing family's tall and strong disciple. Looking at the Qing family's disciple who had been tortured until he didn't even look human anymore, the crowd fell into a deep silence and shock. They suspected that the elder of the Qing clan was too careless and didn't use his unique martial art. But looking at the shocked and horrified faces of the Qing family elders, their faces turned ashen. They were speechless for a moment. The Qing family elders weren't that stupid. They had been slapped in the face before and now they were slapped again. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan had actually used the pupil of eyes in his eyes, but he was still defeated by his opponent in the end? This Yi Jiu, how strong was his combat acuity and intuition? Combat experience, how rich was he? What kind of great power was this genius youth that came out to play? Even if he was a superpower in the 4 regions of the True Spill continent, he would definitely be a peerless genius who was carefully cultivated and cared for. While the crowd was shocked, Luo Qingtong had already brought the Su family's general out of the room. She asked the heavenly diabolism people to settle him down and then looked at the Qing family elder who had a pale face. Qing family elder, let's continue? She chuckled and tapped her index finger on the table in front of her. As long as your Qing family people can win this round, we will raise the stakes and consider it our loss. How about it? Luo Qingtong's words was a provocation and contempt. She was returning all the disdain and contempt that the Qing family had shown to the Tianxia people just now. How dare they attack her people? Today she would show these people from the Qing family what despair was. What is? You? The veins on the Qing family's elder's forehead were bulging from Luo Qingtong's words. The people of the Qing clan behind him also wore terrified and embarrassed looks on their faces. Luo Qingtong said such words in an absolutely crushing manner. This was the biggest slap to the Qing family's face. Chapter 1194. Continue. The elder from the Qing clan gritted his teeth and said word by word. He clearly knew that Luo Qingtong's words were a humiliation, but he had no choice but to accept it. Because if he accepted to continue, then they would still have a chance to turn the tables. If he didn't accept, then the bet would be their Qing clan's final resting place. He didn't believe that his open heaven's eye was useless against the other party. There were so many people in the Su clan. There were so many rounds of win duels, it was impossible for him to not win a single round. He wanted Luo Qingtong to swallow all the words she had said. The muscles on that Qing clan elder's face twitched fiercely. In front of everyone, he had humiliated himself by agreeing to Luo Qingtong's request to continue. And all of this. In his original plan, he should be the one to speak arrogantly to the people of Tianxia. The third round of win duels began. This time that Qing clan elder used his open heaven's eye right from the start. His eyes were focused on the Su clan's general's actions, and he launched an attack with a bang. And this time Luo Qingtong was not prepared to defend like before. She narrowed her eyes and looked at that Qing clan disciple in the win duel room. He directly manipulated the Su family's general to rush forward and launch an attack. Gain the initiative by striking first. Luo Qingtong controlled that Su clan general's actions, and in an instant, that Qing clan elder sneered. The pupil in his eye began to spin violently. That Su clan general's actions were completely seen through by him. However, when he controlled that Qing clan disciple to counterattack that Su clan general's actions. Bang! That Su clan general's actions when charging in front of him suddenly changed. His original action of swinging his fist suddenly turned into a kick. With a bang, that Qing clan elder could not react in time and did not have time to change his move. The pupil in his eye flickered rapidly. He had already predicted the Su family's general's move the moment he lifted his foot. But it was too late. That Su clan's general had changed his move at the last moment. The elder of Qing clan needed some time to see through the attack and maneuver that disciple to dodge the attack. When his open heaven's eye saw through the kick of the Su clan's general, that kick had already ruthlessly landed on the stomach of the Qing clan's child. Bang! The disciple of Qing clan arched his body in a split second as he flew across the ground and heavily hit the wall more than 10 meters away. With a muffled bang, the Qing clan disciple could only lie on the ground and groan. This again. The elder of the Qing clan almost vomited blood. Every time he predicted his opponent's move, his opponent would immediately change his move. In the end, it was as if he was the one who had taken the brunt of his opponent's attack. It was as if his predictions had been completely seen through by the other. How could there be such a terrifying person in this world? Luo Qingtong manipulated the actions of the Su family's high-ranking military officer like moving clouds and flowing water. It was as if all of his actions were in front of the other party, without any concealment at all. The other party could do whatever they wanted to him. Chapter 1195. Every time he attacked, he felt as if he was stuck on a spider's web, unable to exert his strength. The elder from the Qing family almost vomited blood when he thought about it. How is this possible? How did things turn out like this? He looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He did not know how she could see through his prediction of opening heaven's eye, and react in time. Could it be that she was really a genius with superb combat awareness? Other than this, there was no other explanation for her actions. The elder of the Qing clan felt that it was indescribable. Luo Qingtong's movements were still elegant and slow. Just like in the previous round, she crushed the limbs of the Qing family's disciple and kicked him out of the win duel room. Come on. Luo Qingtong smiled as she looked at the people from the Cheng family whose faces had turned green. The elders from the Cheng family looked terrible. At this moment they could see that. The elder from the Cheng family's opening heaven's eye was not very useful against Luo Qingtong. Even if he used opening heaven's eye, he could not defeat Luo Qingtong. This realization made the faces of the people from the Cheng family turn green instantly. However, the elder from the Cheng family was still unwilling to accept the reality. Let's continue. He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Then they continued to the next round. However, the speed of this match was even faster. Bang! The disciple from the Cheng family who was controlled by him was sent flying out and suffered the same fate as the other disciples from the Cheng family. At this moment, the other disciples from the Cheng family felt a chill in their hearts when they saw this scene. They wanted to retreat. However, when they thought of Luo Qingtong and the elder from the Cheng family who raised the stakes, they felt extremely hopeless. Even if they retreated, if they lost the one duel, they would still end up being turned into human sticks. At this moment, the people from the Cheng family started to regret. What did it mean to lift a rock only to drop it on one's own foot? What did it mean to fail in acting tough and get slapped in the face? What did it mean to go for wool and come home shorn? They wanted to use this battle to deal with Tianxia's people, but they didn't expect that they would be slapped in the face. Moreover, he was the one who went up to be beaten up. The whole place was silent. Everyone watched as the members of the Cheng clan turned from arrogant to embarrassed. His mouth was wide open and he couldn't close it. Bang, bang, bang. Luo Qingtong won one match after another. In the end, almost all the people of the Su clan were won over by her. Boom. In the last match, the Cheng clan's disciple controlled by the Cheng clan's elder was ruthlessly smashed into the ground by the Su clan's general controlled by Luo Qingtong. At the same time, in the direction of the Cheng family, the elder of the Cheng family suddenly screamed. He covered his eyes and rolled around violently. Dark red blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers covering his eyes. It was because he had used open heaven's eyes too much in the literary battles and had directly exploded his own eyes. The shrill voice of the elder from the Cheng family and the disciple from the Cheng family in the one duel room rang out one after another. When everyone heard this, they felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 1196. With such a terrifying fighting ability, no matter how weak the opponent was, he had the ability to challenge those of a higher level. And as he grew stronger, this ability to challenge those of a higher level would be even more terrifying. Because on the path of martial arts, the higher the level, the greater the disparity in strength. It was almost impossible to cross. However, Luo Qingtong could rely on her ability to challenge those of a higher level to reduce this disparity. Even if her strength was not enough, she could still fight against those of a higher level. In the eyes of other warriors, this was very inconceivable and terrifying. Just as everyone was looking at Luo Qingtong in shock, she slowly stood up and looked at the frightened members of the Cheng family and said, "All right. The one battle is over. You should also carry out your bets." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the surrounding people remembered that not only did the Cheng family bet on the one battle with the people of the heavenly diabolism, but they also added bets. And the content of the bets. They looked at the people of the Cheng family and saw that their faces were pale. They looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the screaming elder of the Cheng family suddenly grabbed a disciple of the Cheng family and stood up. He angrily shouted at Luo Qingtong and the others, "Little bastards, don't think that you can deal with us like this. So what if you won the one battle? Today none of you from the heavenly diabolism can leave the dark arena." The elder of the Cheng family had a ferocious expression. His eyes had become two bloody holes, which made him look very scary. The veins on the Cheng family elder's forehead bulged as he raised his head abruptly and shouted towards a certain room on the second floor, "Elder Pan, please make your move. Fight against the people of the heavenly diabolism. According to the agreement we had before, all the prophets of the Cheng family in the far west wilderness these years will belong to you." The voice of the elder of the Cheng family sounded. Everyone immediately looked up at the room on the second floor. Everyone remembered that the people of the Cheng family had something to rely on to deal with the people of the heavenly diabolism. The one battle was just a way to humiliate the opponent. Although they lost, as long as the elder of the southern region sect was there to support them, the people of the Cheng family would be fine. In fact, the people of the heavenly diabolism would be in trouble. After all, the elder of the southern region sect. Not only was his own strength, but his sect was also very powerful in the far west wilderness. Hearing the words of the Cheng family's elder, Su Yu and the others had a slight change in expression. Master. Su Yu stepped forward and wanted to say something, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. It's nothing. Luo Qingtong was elder of the heavenly diabolism of the southern regions sect. In the private room on the second floor, after hearing the words of the Cheng family's elder, a figure immediately rushed out from the room. It was an old man who looked very short and small, like a dwarf. He jumped out of the private room on the second floor and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 1197. The old man looked shrewd and wretched. He glanced at Luo Qingtong and waved his sleeve. What? The elder of the Cheng clan was still waiting for Elder Pan to vent his anger for them. When he heard Elder Pan's words, he immediately shouted, Elder Pan, didn't we agree on this? You will help us get rid of the heavenly diabolism and we will reward you. The elder from the Cheng family did not expect Elder Pan to ask the heavenly diabolism to scram. Did this mean that they could not avenge themselves? More importantly, once the heavenly diabolism left, they would tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye about this. The Cheng family would be finished in the Sunrise Country. The elder from the Cheng family became anxious at the thought of this. As soon as he spoke, Elder Pan from the Southern Domain sect let out a cold harumph. He raised his hand and a gust of wind shot out. In an instant, the elder from the Cheng clan, who had just crawled up from the ground, was sent flying again. Do I need you to tell me what to do? Elder Pan from the southern region sneered at the elder from the Cheng family and said, I did agree to help you get rid of the heavenly diabolism. However, that was based on the fact that you won. Now, what kind of battle is this? You've lost your lives to others. I've saved your lives, so I'm already worthy of this reward. Do you still want me to deal with the heavenly diabolism? Elder Pan coldly snorted. In fact, he felt that Luo Qingtong's ability was extraordinary. She might be a genius disciple secretly groomed by some big faction and went out to gain experience. In addition, the man's ordinary face gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. This Elder Pan felt that it was better for him to be a little more cautious. It would be better if he just chased them away. He should not go too far with her. With this thought, he waved his hand and said, All right, you heavenly diabolism, scram. Otherwise I will change my mind. Elder Pan. The elder from the Cheng clan was anxious. He didn't care about the blood on his head and his sorry figure as he hurriedly said, Elder Pan, you can't. Please make a move. We, the Cheng family, are willing to pay twice as much. I'm not in a good mood today, so I'm not going to fight anymore. If your Cheng clan wants to deal with them, do it yourself. Elder Pan looked at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, What? Why aren't you guys scramming? If you don't scram, I'm going to attack. Elder Pan said. He didn't want to go too far with the other party. But if the other party insisted on not leaving, then for the sake of his own face, he would have to make a move against the other party. Just as Elder Pan's words rang out, Yu Xingqi's crisp voice sounded from outside the door. Really? How impressive and domineering. May I know which part of the southern domain you're from, and which sect's elder? Tell me your name so that my brother and I can see who is so powerful that he dares to treat my sister like this. Brother Gio, you're being rude. Chapter 1198. Yu Xingqi had been left outside by Luo Qingtong to wait for Yu Huang. Now that the latter had come back from teaching people a lesson, they all stepped into the hall together. Seeing Luo Qingtong and the other Cheng family members confronting each other, Yu Huang slightly knit his brows. He didn't think that Luo Qingtong needed to spend too much energy to deal with a small upper-class country's aristocratic family. So, there was a variable in this? His eyes swept around and immediately saw Elder Pan, who was standing in front of the Cheng family members but was completely ignored by him because of his height. King. That Elder Pan, when Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi walked into the hall together, his eyes had already popped out. My mother? This was the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect. If it wasn't for Yu Huang's iconic evildoer face that didn't change and Yu Xingqi, this little devil girl by his side, Elder Pan would have thought that he had recognized the wrong person. How did King become like this? Elder Pan's eyes widened as he looked at Yu Huang's head full of vermilion hairpins and cloud hair, swaying as he walked, captivating the soul. My mother? Elder Pan looked at everyone's stunned eyes staring at Yu Huang's body and didn't know what to say. King. What kind of stimulation did you receive? Sect Master. Have you ever thought that as the head of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, this hobby of dressing up as a woman and walking in front of people is very inappropriate? Elder Pan's eyes popped out. The elder of the Cheng clan shouted loudly as if he had caught hold of something that could be used against him. Elder Pan, they are in cahoots with that Yijio. They are deliberately looking down on you. Speaking up to here, he let out a long breath. Being despised and looked down on like this Elder Pan should want to make a move and kill all of Tianxia's people, right? Aha. That Yijio's 2 friends were really their Qing family's god helpers. Originally, Elder Pan was already prepared to not care about their Qing family and Tianxia's matters. Now that the 2 of them had appeared and said such words, how could Elder Pan possibly spare them? Not to mention the contempt in their words towards Elder Pan and the southern region sect behind him. That Qing family elder was proud in his heart, and sneered at Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. You 2 women, what do you know? This is an elder of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands shocking heaven gate. Among the 3 islands and 7 lands, the shocking sky sect's strength is one of the best. Elder Pan is the person in charge of the startling sky sect's forces in the western wastelands. His strength and prestige in the startling sky sect is extremely high. How dare you disrespect Elder Pan? You must be tired of living. That Chung clan elder's face was filled with arrogance and disdain. What he didn't know was that Elder Pan's heart was about to collapse when he heard his words. That wretched and shrewd old face was completely green, black and green. Bang. Without waiting for Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi to say anything, that Elder Pan had already rushed in front of them, and fiercely slapped that Qing family elder's face. Boom boom boom. A burst of explosive sounds. That Chung clan elder was instantly sent spinning on the spot by Elder Pan's slap. Then he was fiercely sent flying. Chapter 1199. At the sight of such a scene, all the other members of Qing clan who were echoing the words of that elder were dumbfounded and dumbfounded. What was going on? Did that Elder Pan make a mistake? Even if he wanted to flip out, he should be targeting Tianxia and Yijio. Why would he make a move against their Qing family elders? The Qing family members were at a loss as they looked at Elder Pan, who suddenly flipped out. The latter fiercely slapped the Qing family elder and sent him flying. After not knowing if he was dead or alive, he quickly lowered his head and said to Luo Qingtong and the others, "I'm sorry, Master Jiao. This time I had eyes but couldn't see. Please don't lower yourself to my level. These Qing family people, I'll immediately take care of them for you. As for the things they gave me, I'll give them all to Tianxia as an apology for offending you this time." Cold sweat broke out on Elder Pan's forehead. He was really going to be killed by the Qing family. They dared to call the king a woman. They even said they knew something. That was fine. They even boasted about him and the shocking heaven sect in front of the other party. If it was the previous Yu Sihuang, it would be fine. Although the imperial sect had a large influence in the 3 islands and 7 lands, Yu Sihuang was suffering from a heart disease. He wanted to unify the 3 islands and 7 lands, but he was powerless. He was almost killed by the Silver Sword people. But it was different now. The Silver Sword people couldn't kill Yu Sihuang and instead allowed the latter to obtain an opportunity. His heart disease was cured and he came back to destroy the Silver Sword. The entire 3 islands and 7 lands were now under Yu Sihuang's control. The other party's strength was also constantly increasing. In this kind of situation, the Qing family people actually boasted about how strong the shocking heaven sect was in front of the king of the southern mountain range. This was simply trying to kill them. Elder Pan hated that he couldn't just choke the Qing family people to death. They caused him to go against the sect master. He couldn't kill them. Elder Pan's face was filled with killing intent. He didn't dare plead for mercy to Yu Sihuang. The latter was still dressed as a woman. If the latter's identity was exposed, there was no need for him to beg for mercy. He could just wait for death with the entire shocking heaven sect. Therefore he could only place his hopes on Luo Qingtong. It could be seen that Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi attached great importance to this Yijio. And just now, Yu Xingqi opened his mouth to support Luo Qingtong. With this thought in mind, he lowered his posture in front of Luo Qingtong. Looking at this scene, the whole place fell silent. The onlookers didn't expect things to turn out this way. Who exactly was this Yijio? To actually cause this Elder Pan of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands heaven-shocking sect to lower his head respectfully? While everyone was secretly guessing and shocked, Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Elder Pan. "Since you didn't make a move this time, I'll let this go. You've dealt with these Qing family people. The Qing family's influence in the western wilderness, not a single one will be left. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. That elder Pan hurriedly complied. His gaze glanced at Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang. Seeing that they didn't have any objections, he immediately rejoiced that he made the right bet. This Yi Jiao was indeed able to influence their decision. Chapter 1200. The faces of the Qing family members were extremely ugly. They did not know what was going on. Wasn't Elder Pan the backer that the Qing clan had invited? The other side had clearly agreed to the Qing family's conditions and wanted to make a move against Tianxia. Not only did he not make a move, he even wanted to destroy their Qing family. Everyone's faces turned pale. A core disciple of the Qing family quickly said, "Elder Pan, don't forget you accepted that buy." Before he could finish his words, Elder Pan had already waved his hand fiercely, chopping off his head. "Humph! Kill everyone from the Qing family, don't leave a single one alive." Elder Pan's face was cold. The deal between him and the Qing family was indeed because of someone pulling the strings. That person was the Bai family's young master from Savage City in the western desolate region, Bai Jintang. But that was in the past. Moreover, he did not know that Tianxia had a relationship with Yu Huang at that time. With Yu Huang here, not to mention the Bai family's young master, even if the entire Bai family was here, he would not be able to go against Tianxia. The Qing family actually wanted to use Bai Jintang to pressure him. Instantly, the killing intent in Elder Pan's heart became even stronger. He directly waved his hand. Immediately, in the private room on the second floor, the trusted subordinates of the Shocking Heaven sect that followed him jumped down and began to massacre the Qing family members. The original backer had turned into a death god. The Qing family members could not react in time and all of them died under the hands of the Shocking Heaven sect. They cried out and begged for mercy, but Su Yu and the others did not even care about them. How the Qing family treated them before was still vivid in their minds. Not to mention the miserable state of the Su family's generals in front of them. The Qing family members all deserved to die. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong coming this time, Su Yu and the others would be controlled by others. Adding in the presence of Elder Pan and the Shocking Heaven sect, who knew how many losses Tianxia would have suffered. Perhaps the entire Tianxia would have died here. In this kind of situation, how could Su Yu and the others spare the Qing family members? Since the other side wanted to deal with them before, then they would have to properly taste this bitter fruit. Let's go. Luo Qingtong's face was calm. She brought Su Yu and the others out of the dark arena. Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi followed by her side. As they walked out of the hall. Just then, an elder in a dark arena uniform chased up from behind and called Luo Qingtong, "Mr. Yi Jiao, please wait a moment. Your humble servant is the manager of the Dark Colors Arena." He Jiao Yi Jiao Yi. Foreign dignitary? Luo Qingtong raised her brows and looked at him. Yes. The deacon of the Dark Colosseum smiled and said, "Our Dark Colosseum likes to invite experts from all walks of life to become our guest elders. If you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, young Master Yi will not be restricted in any way. On the contrary, if you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, you can enjoy VIP treatment in our Dark Color Arena." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.